Good afternoon and welcome to African News on VOP TV. I am Jerry Apelewa. First to headline stories. Peter Obi Lumumba rally youth to secure continent's future. Nigeria's military tribunal grants release of the post-president's son. Airstrikes destroy Sudanese rebels convoy in Dillon. And Dangote reclaims top spot from Rupert on Africa's billionaire list. The news in full. The presidential candidate in the 2023 general elections in Nigeria, Mr. Peter Obi, a renowned Pan-African advocate, Professor Patrick Lumumba, and Dr. Africana Chihombori Kwa have united to encourage African youth to persevere in shaping the future of the continent. The three Africanists were special guests at the self-funded NGO event in Ghana, which faced an unexpected cancellation. Speaking at the post-cancellation event, Dr. Africana said the wisdom, energy, and intelligence of youth are enough in steering Africa towards a new path. Professor Lumumba referenced Kwame Nkrumah's call for African unity in Africa 67 years ago and emphasized the continent's growing intimacy through initiatives like the African Continental Free Trade Area headquartered in Accra. On the spot, Nigerian politician Peter Obi blamed Africa's challenges on failed leadership, urging a change. The former governor of Anambra State said with abundant resources, the continent's high levels of poverty signaling the need for transformative leadership. Nigeria's military tribunal has granted provisional release to Mohamed Bazoum Salem, the 23-year-old son of ousted President Mohamed Bazoum, from house arrest in the capital Niamey. The tribunal made this decision on Monday, as stated in an official release. Mr. Salem had been under detention at the presidential residence along with his parents since the military coup that ousted his father in July. This coup, one of 8 in West and Central Africa since 2020, faced widespread condemnation, resulting in sanctions from the Economic Community of West African State ECOWAS. The international community also called for the release of Bazoum and a return to democratic rule. In a significant development, the ECOWAS Court of Justice declared last month that the detention of Bazoum's family was arbitrary and ordered the reinstatement of President Bazoum. The court's decision is final and cannot be appealed, while the military government now has 1 month to outline how it plans to execute this order, according to the lawyers involved in the case. The Constitutional Court in the Democratic Republic of Congo has started hearing a petition filed by one of the former candidates challenging the result of December presidential election. Opening the hearing, Theodore Ngoy asked the court to annul the result of the election, claiming there were flagrant violations of the electoral law. The petitioner cited the unstable socio-political situation in the country, the irregular registration process of voters, and a 7-day extension of the voting process in some areas of the country as grounds for cancellation of the results. Ngoy has asked the court to order the composition of new independent members of the National Electoral Body to organize fresh elections. The court will hear presentations from the public on Anthony before announcing its ruling before January 12th. President Felix Tshisekedi was declared the winner of the presidential election with 73.34% of the votes after beating about 20 candidates. The final result of the presidential poll awaits ratification by the Constitutional Court. Security forces in the Democratic Republic of Congo have briefly surrounded the home of main opposition politician Moise Katumbi, who came second in last month's disputed elections. Mr. Katumbi's spokesperson, Harvey Diakese, said the politician was prevented from leaving his home in southern Katanga province on Monday. But security forces later withdrew on the orders of a local governor. Mr. Katumbi has rejected President Felix Tshisekedi's landslide victory in last month's election as a sham. 5 other opposition leaders, including Martin Fayulu, who came third, have called for a protest march against the election results. Still to come on the news, more stories after the break. Stay with us.
It's no longer news that the NNPCL plan to increase the price of petrol to reflect the current market condition and ensure the sustainability of the petroleum industry. The proposed increase aims to address the challenges faced by the corporation and support its operations. However, the NNPCL has debunked the news, saying there is no plan to increase the price of petrol anytime soon. Today, VOP TV is out here on the street to hear what the people have to say on this.
And this has always been what we've experienced in Nigeria as a nation. First, you hear some rumor, then before you know it, you start seeing it getting close. You know, I remember during the time of Obasanjo's regime, the former president of Nigeria was saying that Nigerians could afford to buy a bottle of beer for 250 naira, 200 naira those days, and they can now afford to buy a liter of fuel for that amount. Before we know it now, a liter of fuel is, some place they sell 600 plus. It has even tripled what the ex-president talked about. So that was how it started. So if they are saying want to, definitely, before we know it, I'm telling you, before the fourth quarter of this year, there's going to be a hike in the price of fuel.
So that's not like they increase the fuel from 610 naira to 1,200. Can't possible.
No, I'm a transporter. Before, when they are selling it 200 naira, we know how much I'm taking it home with my family. But this time around, they are selling it 600. Nothing much again. Before pay those people that have this pack, before buying fuel, nothing will remain again.
The cost of living will be high because when the fuel increase, everything too will increase. So at least both the transport, everything, the food will increase. So it will affect the masses.
Can't possible. Even government have denied it this morning. I heard from radio say nothing like that. They are even prepared to reduce the fuel price down when the refinery started working.
The way they are carrying that rumor yesterday, I was telling them critically that they cannot increase the fuel. If they increase the fuel, they want to create a problem to this country.
Now
Welcome back. A court in Sierra Leone has charged 27 soldiers with multiple offenses over an alleged coup attempt. The trial was adjourned to Wednesday. The Defense Ministry said in a statement that the charges include mutiny, failure to suppress mutiny, murder, aiding the enemy, communicating with the enemy, and all the relevant offenses. Last November, gunmen broke into a military armory and several prisons in Freetown, freeing almost 2,000 inmates, in which about 20 people were killed. The authorities described this as an attempt to overthrow the government. Last week, in connection with the same incident, former President Ernest Bai Koroma was charged with treason but denied any involvement in the event. The authorities are also prosecuting one of Mr. Koroma's former presidential bodyguards alongside 11 former police and correctional officers. They have been accused of treason, concealing treason, and harboring, aiding, and abetting the enemy. The governor of the River Nile state of Sudan, Mohammed al-Badawi, has banned the activities of the Forces of Freedom and Change, FFC, and the neighborhood resistance committees, effectively dissolving them. He also dissolved all service committees in the state, cities, and villages, replacing them with bodies composed of military veterans and individuals tasked with mobilizing civilians to fight the Rapid Support Forces (RSF). The latest move is coming on the heels of al-Badawi's controversial order on December 29th, which instructed members of the FFC and those he deemed collaborators with the RSF to leave the city within 3 days. His decree was met with widespread rejection and criticism from various political factions who voiced serious concerns that it could escalate into a full-blown civil war. The states of northern, eastern, and central Sudan have been witnessing a surge in calls for arming civilians to prepare for confrontations with the RSF, a campaign known as Popular Resistance. Al-Badawi's decree mandates the establishment of new management committees with neighborhoods, villages, and cities, and will be headed by the imam of the local mosque, a representative of war veterans, women, and youth, and a mobilization coordinator. In a related development, the Sudanese Army and the Sudan People's Liberation Army North, led by Abdulaziz al-Hilu, has clashed with the Rapid Support Forces RSF in Dilin, the second largest city in South Kordofan. The Sudan People's Liberation Army North forces reportedly gained complete control of the city, prompting accusations that the army had handed over Dilin to the SPLAN in a secret alliance to counter the RSF. The official side of the Federal Ministry of Information confirmed the clashes, stating that the army and the SPLMN in the Nuba Mountains had repelled an attack by the RSF and attacked some areas where the assailants were based. Witnesses said that the Rapid Support Forces targeted residential areas in the Al-Qaz, Al-Matar, and Abu Zaid neighborhoods of Al-Hawazma, with heavy shelling causing widespread damage and displacing residents. The Ministry of Information emphasized that the joint forces had not engaged in any attacks on civilians or property, and that the police and security services were maintaining order in the city. Similarly, the Sudanese Army warplanes have conducted airstrikes on the Al-Dababite area of the Al-Qaz locality, located 56 kilometers north of Dilin, for the second time in less than a week, targeting a former Rapid Support Forces camp. The airstrikes reportedly destroyed the camp and disrupted a convoy of Rapid Support Forces RSF vehicles heading towards Dilin. The Sudanese government platform claimed that the Al-Dababite camp had been used by the Rapid Support Forces as a staging ground for attacks in the north, particularly towards the cities of El Obeid, the capital of North Kordofan, and South Dilin. The ongoing clashes and airstrikes highlight the instability in South Kordofan, where the RSF, the SPLMN, and the Sudanese Army continue to vie for control. Also, the UN peacekeeping mission in South Sudan has condemned the recent violence which resulted in a number of civilian casualties in Jonglei State in the east of the country. Nearly 30 civilians were reportedly killed in an attack on a cattle camp in Dokpadei County on Thursday in what was believed to be a cattle raid by suspected armed youth from the Paibor area. The peacekeeping force did not provide the exact figure of those killed. According to reports in local media in South Sudan, authorities in the area said that the death toll had risen to at least 28 civilians. Jonglei and Paibor areas are susceptible to violence, often triggered by cattle raiding and intercommunal revenge killings. Still to come on the news, more stories after the break. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. Africa's billionaire list, Dangote claims the top spot from Rupert. As we go into the business news, where African business mogul Aliko Dangote has regained his position as the richest person in Africa, according to Forbes Real-Time Billionaires. VOP TV reported on Thursday, January 4th, that South African business mogul Johan Rupert dethroned Nigerian Aliko Dangote to emerge as Africa's wealthiest man. The Forbes Daily Billionaires ranking platform, which tracks daily changes to the net worth of the most high net worth individuals across the world, showed that Dangote's net worth improved by $10 million to $10.1 billion as of January 8, 2024. He overtook Johan Rupert, South African luxury goods tycoon, and his family. Rupert's net worth as at January 8 was $10 billion, down from $10.7 billion as of January 30, 2023. Dangote is now ranked 191st on the Forbes list, while Rupert is ranked 197th worldwide. He also remains Africa's richest man on the Bloomberg Billionaire Index. The Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has successfully concluded the third review of Mozambique's 3-year loan program. According to the IMF, this development enables an immediate disbursement of approximately $60.7 million to Maputo. As of the latest announcement on Monday, the total disbursement under the $456 million extended credit facility program sanctioned in 2022 now stand at around $273 million. The IMF affirmed in a statement that the program has exhibited satisfactory performance, citing a notable decrease in inflationary pressures and a notable acceleration in economic recovery. The overarching goal of the 3-year arrangement is to provide vital support to Mozambique's economic recovery efforts. Simultaneously, it aims to implement policies that contribute to the reduction of public debt and address financial vulnerabilities. The program also seeks to create opportunities for public investment in crucial areas such as human capital, climate adaptation, and infrastructure. Nigerian fintech startup Clever has secured $1.5 million pre-seed to enhance international payments across Africa. Clever will enable users to send United States dollars internationally and create professional invoices, putting them in a competitive remittance market that already includes platforms like Flutterwave Send, Cheaper Cash, Lemfi, and RFS. Tolu Alabi, the Chief Executive Officer, and Philip Abel, the Chief Technical Officer, founded the fintech in 2023 to offer US-based accounts to people and companies in Africa so they could receive US dollars. A part of their markets are diasporans. South Africa's rand has recovered slightly on Monday after a lackluster start to the year, ahead of a key US inflation report later in the week. At 15:19 GMT, the rand traded at 18.6200 against the dollar, 0.45% stronger than its previous close. A reading on US inflation due on Thursday is expected to provide some clarity on the Federal Reserve's monetary policy outlook, which often determines direction for emerging market currencies like the rand. Central bank data released on Monday showed that South Africa's net foreign reserves rose to $56.900 billion at the end of December from $56.319 billion in November, while gross reserves increased to $62.518 billion in December from $61.721 billion the previous month. Separately, a survey showed South African manufacturing activities accelerated in December as businesses benefited from fewer power cuts in the holiday period. Before we wrap up African news on VOP TV, here are the headline stories we read earlier. First, the headline stories were Peter Obi, Lumumba rally youth to secure the continent's future. Niger's military tribunal grants release of the post-president's son. Airstrikes destroy Sudanese rebels convoy in Dillin, and Dangote reclaims top spot from Rupert on Africa's billionaire list. Thank you for staying with us. I am Jerry Apelioi. Good afternoon.